Very nice. Good morning.
You see, I talked to my wife yesterday, and she asked me how the shear was. And I said, well, I thought I said something intelligent, but I didn't get a trophy, so it doesn't count. No, it has to come on a timely basis.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. How are you feeling?
Improve.
Chayil. Swim. Okay, we ready?
Yeah. It's on.
Oh, it's on. Okay, so we're going to start on the Mishnah on the bottom of Tesvav Amud Bais. Kol hanevelas mitzdarfim zum zu, chol hashkatzim mitzdarfim zem zeh. All nevela, we're talking about the shiurim. Let's assume we're talking about a shiur of a kazayas. All nevelas.
This is general.
Yeah.
This is for anything to get what is it, Malchus?
Malchus. So all nevelas will combine one with another, and all shkatzim will also combine one with another. Creeping insects will also combine. Now, the Mishnah is very vague. It doesn't tell me if it's dealing with food, and the correct shear would be a kazayas. It doesn't tell me achila, rather, eating. And it doesn't tell me if it's dealing with tumah, because nevela also gives off a tumah. In shkatzim, well, it would say shratzim. Shkatzim just means bugs. Okay. It also doesn't tell me if it's talking about what type of nevelas it's talking about. The nevelas of a kosher animal. And nevela just means an animal that died. Nevela of a kosher animal that died, or nevela of a non-kosher animal. And by the way, a non-kosher animal that dies is a nevela.
Yeah.
A pig that dies. Does it have a nevela? It's not kosher anyway. So kol hanevelas mitzdarfim zum zu means what? It would only mean kosher or non-kosher. Okay, let's see the Gemara. But no, it's the vagueness of the Mishnah, the unclarity, the ambiguity of the Mishnah. The Gemara needs to discuss, and all of those questions, by the way, are going to be different opinions. Amar Rav. Rav says, Leishanu, this has not been taught, Ella only. Leishanu Ella is a Gemara term for Bamed Devarim Amurim. The Mishnah uses the term Bamed Devarim Amurim, and the Gemara says Leishanu Ella. It's exactly the same thing. Leishanu Ella, this has not been taught only. Or when was this taught? Ella Linyan Tumah. When do we say that it combines nevelas? Because he's talking about, Rav understands that we're dealing with kosher animals, non-kosher animals. So, to combine non-kosher animals and kosher animals to one shear, that would only be b'negei tumah. That the animals died, and they give off a tumah when they're nevela. Aval inyan achila, but regarding eating, tahirim b'fnei atzmim, tmeim b'fnei atzmim. You'll have to separate them, tahirim and tmeim. That the kosher animals have one prohibition, it's called nevela, and non-kosher animals that died have another prohibition, it's called behemoth tmeya. It's a pig, a horse, whatever, a donkey, a camel. It's a different prohibition. So you can't combine if it's a different prohibition. But Levi says, "Afil lachila nami mitzdarfin." No, they combine. Why? Because Levi holds iser chalal iser, that even though it has a prohibition of non-kosher, that it's behemoth tmeya, but nevertheless the prohibition of nevela goes on it. So that girl, this famous story with the girl that she was sick and she wanted, the doctor said she has to eat pig. So she was very, very frum. So she said she's not eating it. So they called the Rav. The Rav said, no, the doctor says you have to eat it. So she said, okay, but it needs to be shechted. So they found a sheichet that was willing to use his knife to shech the pig. And they shechted it, and then she said, no, you have to check the lungs. So they checked the lungs, they found that it wasn't kosher. So they brought it to the Rav. The Rav said, look, if it would be a cow, it would be not kosher. But for a pig, maybe this is kosher. So, according to Levi, yeah, you can have a pig, but you can also have nevela. The pig died, so it's pig and nevela. So that prohibition can join together, according to Levi, with the kosher nevela. Ravasi says, Terin Latzman and Tmeim Latzman. Ravasi says that the kosher animals are itself, and the non-kosher animals are itself. Now, what Ravasi is saying is that when it says Kol HaNevelos Mistar from Zu and Zu, that means all kosher animals combine and all non-kosher animals combine. Now, I have two ways of understanding what he means. Is he talking about achila? And that would be fit with Rav. Or is he talking about tumah? And then he's arguing on Rav also. I mean, Rav let kosher and non-kosher animals combine for tumah, not for achila. But maybe Ravasi means for tumah as well, and he's even arguing on Rav. Ravasi is a student of Rav. So it would be nicer to say that he agreed with Rav. Ikadamri pligi ad Rav. Some say that Ravasi is arguing with Rav. Why? Because Ravasi is saying even regarding tumah they don't combine, and Rav said regarding tumah they do combine. Ikadamri like pliga. And some say that he doesn't argue on Rav, and Ravasi was only talking about achila, and he figured out a way to read the Mishnah that it's dealing with achila, and he still agrees with Rav that Benegei Tumah would combine. Okay. What's wrong? You want me to recap?
16A. No, I didn't wake up yet. But if you can recap in 15 seconds.
16A.
We're discussing combining prohibitions to one measurement, and the basis of our discussion has to do with Isser Chalal Isser. Can we say that you can put one Isser prohibition on top of something? So, for example, can non-kosher, an animal, let's say pig, also be an avela? And now, if that's the case, then we can combine pig, which is nevela, together with cow, which is nevela, because it's the same prohibition. Or do we say that no, that to one's the pig and one's cow, that's a different prohibition? I granted it wasn't shechted. So Rav said that you don't combine, and Levi said that you do combine, because you can stack on top. Rav and Levi. Here we have Rav and Levi again. So, and then we had a discussion with Ravasi. Ravasi said we were unclear what Ravasi meant. Does he agree with Rav, or is he even stricter than Rav that regarding Tumah it doesn't I don't know if that's stricter, but it won't even combine regarding Tumah. Those two things. Meisveit, the Gemara has a question. Mises para v'chaya gamal.
So he didn't answer it, just says
We didn't answer. There's two opinions. What's the pshat in Ravasi? Ravasi, in the chart, you would see him under Rabbi Yochanan, but he was also a Talmud of Rav. And then I think he went over to Eretz Yisrael. So we have a Bais here that goes like this. We have the first half of the Bais here. We'll have the second half in a few minutes. It says, Mrs. Para, a dead cow, v'chaya gamal, and a live camel. Camel is camel, same word. Ein mistar from zemzeh. It doesn't combine. That's very interesting. What are we dealing with? We have nevela of a para, and we have aver menachai of a camel. So that's definitely two separate prohibitions. So that doesn't combine. And by the way, what are we talking about? Eating it or tumah? So Rashi's going to learn that we're talking about eating it. Rashi's going to learn that we're talking about tumah. Rashi's going to learn we're talking about tumah.
That's the one I most agree with.
Yeah. And Taisus is going to learn that we're dealing with eating it. Okay. Now, the Gemara makes a diak. It says, why are they not combining? Because one is Eivir Menachai, right? One is alive. It's a different prohibition. It's not Nevela. Hamisa Shneim, but let's say the camel would be dead. Mitzdarfin. Then it would combine. Now, let's say we're dealing with Tumah, like Rashi. B'kasha l'Ravasi. It's a question on Ravasi. Now, 1 second. How do you know it's a question on Ravasi? It's a question on Ravasi according to the opinion that says that Ravasi argues with Rav that says that they don't combine even regarding Tumah. Ravasi was this other opinion. That it doesn't combine even regarding Tumah. Here we see that a cow and a camel do combine regarding Tumah. It's one approach to this Gemara. Rashi. Taisus approach. So 1 second. It's a kasha on Ravasi, and it's a kasha on Rav also. It doesn't say Rav, because we already accepted that Ravasi is a Talmud of Rav, and Ravasi and Rav hold the same. We accepted that opinion already. It says kasha Ravasi. Ravasi means it's a kasha on Rav, and what's the question? Because Rav and Ravasi both hold that it doesn't combine regarding eating. And here you see if they're both dead, it does combine regarding eating. It's a kasha on Ravasi and Rav. It's funny that the Gemara doesn't say Rav, kasha Ravasi v'Rav, right? If it's really talking, you would think it would say that, but he's saying no. That's what it means because it's hakol echad. You look in the bottom of Taisus, on the Meisvei Taisus. It says Rav Ravasi kol echad. Ravasi mishmei derav kamashu hayatomide. See that bottom of that Taisus. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Gemara says you got the diak wrong. You didn't read it. You read it, but what the implication that you got from it was incorrect. The implication was different. It's Ema hachayesh neim mitzdarfen. What hachayesh neim mitzdarfen? The diak was not if they're both dead.
Sure. Where's that?
If they're set up with the trophy. The diak was that if they're both alive, they combine. Not if they're both dead, they combine. What is they're both alive? I mean, both are Eivir Menachai. What do they combine for? Back to Tumah, I guess. Back to Tumah. They'll combine for Tumah, according to Rashi. Umani, and who holds this? Rabbi Yehudi. The Amar, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda in Chulin. The Amar Eivir Menachai noig b'tmeya. It says that Eivir Menachai applies to a non-kosher animal. Okay. So we're left with no question from a diak from a brisa, because we got the diak wrong. The diak was only telling me about Eivir Menachai, not about if they're dead, not about Nevela.
The gamal
and the para.
But the par is not tameh.
No, but it's Eivir Menachai.
Oh, so it's
so you want to talk about Tumah? Yeah, now you're going to have a problem. What Tumah do you have by Eivir Menachai? Well, if it's a full Eivir, there could be Tumah.
So it's saying it's an Eivir Menachai from the cow, and it's a regular.
And it's Eivir Menachai from the camel. So 2 Eivir Menachais combined.
So not for achila, but for two.
Yeah, Taisus would say it's achila. Makes so much more sense, Eivir Menachai achila. Otherwise, you get into huge issues here regarding Tumah, because the only time it would be Tumah is if it's a full Eivir.
But we learned previously the shear was not a full Eivir.
That's what Taisus, yeah. So that's what Taisus is what is concerned about. He says because the only time there's Eivir is if they're basar gidim atzamas, that's what's going to give off. But then you don't need a shear anymore, right? Because then it's even if there's the smallest amount. So what do you mean mitzdaref? So because of that,
to make it tameh.
Yeah.
It's tameh just
so because of that, Tosfos then switches the pshat that it's dealing with achila. If dealing with achila, then it's a kasha and Rav also. So he has to answer that issue. That's the underlying thing. Okay, so now back up. Misa shnei mai. What happens if they're both dead? Leimet starfi. They don't. And by the way, Naftali deserves a trophy.
Trophy just for wearing a cool shirt. For wearing a cool shirt.
Thank you. Send a picture to my wife.
Here it says that the Eivah Menachem applies to a non-kosher animal according to Rabbi Yehuda. So the halacha is not like
Okay.
it says that the halacha is that it doesn't apply to non-kosher animals. It's in accordance with the rabbis.
Now, just tell us what Rabbi Yehuda is talking about. Is Rabbi Yehuda talking about eating it or giving off tumah? The assumption is eating.
It says eating.
Eating.
Yeah,
So Tosfos it fits with the flow better when it's eating because that's part of the Rabbi Yehuda's talking about eating. But if they both die, my leimet starfi, then they don't combine. That's what the Gemara is trying to say. The Gemara is trying to adjust it so that it won't be a kasha and Ravasi and Rav, that it won't combine. So it says in Cain, if that's the case, that you're looking for cases that you only had a diak that it's going to combine while it's alive. But if they're both dead, it's not going to combine. In my area, why did you have to give me this strange case? Where one's alive and one's dead, and they don't combine. And then you tell me the diak is that if they're alive, they do combine. Even if they're both dead, you could have told me a better diak. You could have told me a better halacha that they're both dead, they don't combine, and when they're alive, they combine. So then we have another problem. Tanya, there's a Bais at the end. This is actually the sefer of the Bais. It says Chatzi Zayas Para B'Chaya v'Chatzi Zayas Gamal B'Misasa. To read this carefully. It's exactly the opposite. Here the cow is alive.
So it's Eivah Menachem.
Yeah, and the camel is dead. So the cow, there's a piece of the living cow, and there's the live cow, and then there's a half an olive-sized piece of the camel. That's dead. It says ein mitzdarfen. Doesn't combine. So I don't combine Eivah Menachem together with a behema tameya and the possibly nevela according to Levi. Aval chatzi zayas mi para, v'chatzi zayas b'gamal. But if it would be a chatzi zayas of a para and a chatzi zayas of a gamal, bein b'chaya, bein b'misasa, whether it's alive, whether it's dead. Let's say it means both alive, both dead.
Both of the animals.
Both of the animals.
Being combined. Potentially combined.
Combine.
Yeah.
Mitzdarfen. Then it would combine. Let's say just so it doesn't actually say that. It doesn't say b'chayayam at the whatever. Kasha reisha seifa. If you're going to accept the diuk that we've been proposing, that when it says that chatzi zayas b'chaya, v'chatzi zayas b'misasa, the diuk doesn't tell me the implication is not to tell me anything about when it's dead. It's only to tell me that when it's alive, it does combine. But when it's dead, it also doesn't combine. So then the diak of the first part of this, that says when it's alive, it combines, when it's dead, it doesn't, contradicts the second part, where it says when it combines, it does combine. When it's dead, it does combine. Elalav, shmamina, misa shnei mitzdarfen. We have to say different. You have to say that when it dies, it does combine. Now, this was the kasha on Ravasi and Rav, possibly. Our original question just came back.
They're just saying it's just a function of logic, right? They're saying if it's like this, then it has to be like that.
Is it just a function of logic? It's an implication that's coming from the statement about the fact that it chose a case to tell me that it doesn't combine, tells me that if you modify it, then it will combine.
Is it this lo zu afsa?
Leizu
If you're right, you get a
Afzu
trophy
usually means
If not this, then how, I mean, if that's what he was saying, why would you say
Leizu Afzu is used.
Chatzigam also, how much more so you'd have, like, in other words, he's going back on the Mishnah. On the Brisa, when he was saying, why mention,
Oh, but yeah, but I wouldn't use that in a diuk. Usually a Leizu Afzu is used when the order is strange. When you say when you start off with the more obvious.
well, that's
When
what
you
he
start
was
off with the more obvious, and then you get to the bigger Kiddush later.
So that would be a Lozu also. Going back a few
Aval Misa Shneim, that on the after Rabbi Yehuda.
Yeah.
Aval Misa Shneim, my limit starfi. Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay, my Yeder Rav Tam says para v'chay gamal. I feel Misa Shneim limit starfi. It could have said in the first question.
Right.
First question, it could have said a bigger Kiddush. Yeah, it could have said a bigger Kiddush.
That's a...
So, but it didn't. And
But
why
he
it didn't?
turned it around. Obviously, and that's what he said love, and that's why he went back to. Therefore, it has to be the other one.
Therefore, we're back to.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's on a higher level than us to begin with.
What? Okay.
So we're back to our to where we're holding before, that we have a kasha and Ravasi and a kasha and Rav. So Amalach Ravasi means Ravasi would respond, not that he actually if he was here. Haitana Savar Yisachal Alisser. Ravasi says, "You're asking me a question from a brisa. I don't agree with that whole fundamental premise of the brisa. That brisa holds Yisachal Alisser." And so, therefore, you can say that even though it's not kosher, it still has a Isser Nevela. But I don't hold of that. So, and that's a machlekes Tanoim if Yisr Chalal Isser. So I'm going with the other opinion. Okay. That was an easy way out. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda Marav says. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. This started off with Rav and Levi and Ravasi, and now we're back to Rav Yehuda Marav. It says like this: Achila shratzim leikalav bekazayas. When someone eats insects, sherets, not shekets, sherets. Doesn't have to be an insect. It could mean those creatures that those eight. What is it?
Lizard?
Lizard type creatures. Creeping creatures that are. So you get malchus if someone eats a kazayas of them.
Even if it's a whole area?
Shouldn't be if it's a beria. Beria should be different. Let's say it's not a beria, just to make it. Now, I just want to point out one thing. It's the Zion there. By the way, when the Mishnah said v'chol hashkatzim mitzdarfen and zemzed, Shittik Mekubetzes changes it to v'chol hashratzim. So the Mishnah also says v'chol hashratzim mitzdarfen zemzed. Now I have a statement of Rav Yehuda Marav that achila shratzim get a kazaya is malchus after eating a kazayas. Now is Rav Yehuda Marav discussing the Mishnah? Or is it just its own statement? Okay, let's see. We'll see in the Gemara. Gemara says, "My timer." What's the reason? Achila ksivu. It says achila. It says loy soichlom tishekatzem. The pasuk. It says achila. Anytime it says achila, the shear is a kazayas. The Gemara says, "Vatani Rabbi Yosi bar Reb Chanina kamed Rabbi Yochanan." Rabbi Yosi bar Chanina taught in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Is he on the chart? Yeah. Now why?
No, I don't know why, but it's not a kazayas.
It's not a kazayas. So what's the pshat? It says
Because it's not allowed to be found. It's not allowed to be.
there's why it's more strict is because
People are used to eating it during the whole year.
yeah, and there's chorus. And this chorus.
Wait, Professor.
Let's take a look. b'mashu means it's not batal. But I don't know if there's malchus. Is there malchus in mashu? No. Malchus. Mashu chametz is asur b'mashu means that it's never batal. Even b'mashu, which is as opposed to other yisurim which are batal b'shishim or something. So chametz asur b'mashu, it's different than when you get that's not the measurement of malchus. I don't think you get malchus unless you eat a kazayas. So here I have Rabbi Yochanan and I have Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. So this is Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. He's saying something in front of Rabbi Yochanan. He's quoting a Bais in front of Rabbi Yochanan.
Could you just show where Rav Asi is?
Okay. Now Rav Asi is a student of Rabbi Yochanan, but he came from Bavel. So he's at the same time he used to be a student of Rav.
You couldn't find him.
Yeah. Yeah. Taisva says on the bottom, Rav Asi mishmei Rav kamashu hayatalmidai.
Switch up, change up.
Okay. So Rabbi Yosef, by the way, did anyone sign up to that history? Did you get it? Okay. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina kamed Rabbi Yochanan, this is what he taught. He teaches like this. We're on Tes Zayin Amud Bais. If daltem ben a behema hatahira l'tmeya, you will distinguish. You shall distinguish between the kosher animal and the non-kosher. The kosher bird to the non-kosher. Shaktu, she sells, right? You should not contaminate your soul with the birds and the animals and birds that creep on the ground that I've distinguished, that I've separated the impure. It starts off discussing eating. Now, it doesn't actually say the word achila, it just says shaktu. But what that means, don't make yourself disgusting by eating. It means through eating. And v'siyam betuma. But it concludes with litame, with the word to become impure. So what is it telling me? Why does it change the verb? So it says ma tuma bekadasha v'achila bekadasha. The Bais says it's coming to tell me that when it comes to these creatures, just like the tuma is only with a size of a bean, so too eating it is already usher the size of a bean. There goes our kazayas.
But it knocks out the whole Mishnah, the tziruf and everything.
Well, maybe the tziruf is kadasha. I don't know. Kadasha is still not a masho. It's still a size.
There's no measurement for that.
I think there is. I don't know what it is, but it's
scale.
It's not. It wouldn't be a scale. There is an opinion that you use the scale.
So a person will be eating a half a kadasha, and
Yeah.
he has to be mitzvah for another half of a kadasha.
Right. It's small, but it's
Microscopic.
So we have a problem over here. The Kalsi Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan praised Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina. The Kashal the Rav. This is a question on Rav because Rabbi Yehuda Marav said that you have to eat a kazayas to get malchus, and here we say eating a kadasha that size. Umar says like kasha. That's not a question. Kam b'misasan, kam b'chayayan. When did we say it's a kazayas? That's when you ate it while it was alive. When it's dead, it gives off the tumah. And when it's dead, it gives off the tumah, then it gets the adasha measurement. Amar lay Abaya. Abaya said to him, I don't know who he said to.
Rabbi Yosef
Oh. Now, where did Rabbi Yosef come in here?
says it over.
No, but you follow? Like,
Yeah.
Did you mention Rabbi Yosef? Did your Gemara have a Rabbi Yosef before?
I don't think so.
Maybe it was Rabbi Yosef.
No, it can't be. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina was in Eretz Yisrael. Amalei Rav Yosef la Abaya. He says it's Rabbi Yosef because later on Rabbi Yosef is going to respond back. That's how we know it's Rabbi Yosef. He wasn't here before. This is like a new discussion. Usually in a new discussion, you try not to use just the pronoun. You try to introduce the people by name. But here, it's working the opposite. It starts off with the pronouns, and then it will figure out who they are. So, Amalei Abaya said to him, to Rabbi Yosef, Rav, Amasnisin Kai. Rav is dealing with the Mishnah. Umasnisin Kol Hashratzim Ktani Afilu B'Misasan. Go back to the Mishnah. It says, V'chol Hashratzim Mitzdarfim Zemzeh. All Shratzim combine. And comes along Rav and says that you only get Malchus on Kazayas. And Rav said that we're dealing with Tumah. That means that they're dead. Rav says when you eat it, well, at least the first part was dead. The first part was Tumah. Now it says, Rav says when you eat it, you get Malchus for a Kazayas. So how could you say that the Kazayas part is when they're alive, but Amar Rav Yudah Marav is referring to the Mishnah. So Amar Lei, skip the parentheses. Amar Lei Rav Yosef, Hahu diyuka dilach. He says that's your own diuk. Hahu diyuka dilachu. That's yours. That's your own mistake. Rav Shmaita Ba'al Makama. Rav was not explaining the Mishnah. When he said this, you made that connection on your own. Now, if you look on the side, he says, the Arach brings